Hi, everyone. Welcome to August. We appreciate you being here with us once again. And just as a reminder, I'm Patrick. I'm here with Amanda and Megan, and we are going to talk to you about embracing and acceptance. This is a popular theme around conversation, particularly in worlds of wellness and health, in mindfulness. But what does it actually mean? I think one of the misconceptions that we've talked about hearing is, well, I just have to embrace the suck or just accept that my life is terrible, or I'm in depression, so strap in, it's going to be bad, or this I've recovering from a traumatic experience, and oh, you're telling me I should just be in this state of strong discomfort or displeasure. The short answer is no. Where acceptance and embracing is meeting yourself where you are. If you've ever been to a therapy session, you've heard that. Accepting yourself, accepting your situation, because we have to start somewhere. We have to start from the truth about where it is. And then we build on that. I think we've talked here about the difference between complacency and contentment. Complacency being a resignation, where contentment is I know where I am, and then we move forward. So let's get the conversation started.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is I'm going to ask the question, but I'm also going to answer it from my perspective is like, why is it so hard for us to like accept where we are? And I think it's like a lot of the negativity bias that we've talked about in the brain, where it's just like, okay, if I'm not doing enough, then I'm not enough. Like there's just this constant voice that's like, okay, well, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, so I can't accept that. I can't just embrace being, here when I want to be here. And I do think that it comes with practice, acceptance, and embracing kind of where you are in your cycles. We have natural seasons that operate within us, just like it happens out in nature. And there might be a period of time where it's summertime and then you feel all this energy buzzing around you outside, but you are yourself not feeling it. You're fatigued, you're tired, you're like just not, and then there's just like maybe this comparison or the shame that's going on that's like I'm supposed to be this, but I'm here. Like how do I accept that? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think to your point, Amanda, that I'm supposed to write those things that society or no, we knock social media sometimes, right? But like that we're seeing or that we're being told, like summertime, you do these things, and like if we're not in that space, we're not there wanting to do that, right? That acceptance. And I had another thought that I lost it, so come back to me, Patrick. You check in.
Yeah, I'm thinking about just, Megan taught me over a year ago the saying, stop shooting on me, or don't shoot on me. Um, and, just really understanding, as that has developed, and, my work with clients, what that really dissects into is I help clients understand that should is coming from the outside. Should means I'm comparing to some other structure out there, whereas want is in here. I want this thing. Am I doing it because I should, or am I doing it because I want to? And this most recently, conversation came up around parenting. And that was an experience we noticed was where we're supposed to be or what others project. Oh, you're having a baby, or you just had a baby. How wonderful. And in my mind, I'm thinking something's off because this is not wonderful. But me being pretty direct and transparent, I would share that. Judge away. I'm going to share my experience. I don't think this is all wonderful and snuggly and cuddly and cute. Um, and it was interesting how people would just kind of melt this facade and be like, me too. There were moments where I just hated it. I regretted every decision. I thought this was terrible idea. Or it took me months to look at this alien thing and like feel a connection versus, oh my God, stop screaming or whatever it was, various messages for different experiences. But the point is, that is embracing and accepting. I feel this way. For me personally, I knew I wasn't going to feel those feelings forever. But for me to deny them would have prevented me from doing whatever I needed to get through them. I needed to feel them, own them, accept them, and keep moving as it was appropriate to move. So that's what comes to my mind as a real life example.
Yeah, and I do love the saying, don't shit on yourself or others. And the idea that should is always a blame word. But I think too, Patrick, to your point, like should can come within. Sometimes we have core beliefs and values and things, or we're kind of told messages where we should on ourselves of like, oh, I should be so happy as a mother, right? Or I should want to do the laundry. Like, should I? Do I want to? Right. So I think even for yourself, as you notice those should statements, to shift it to want, right? Like, I should, I don't know. I can't think of an example right now, but right, shifting that language to want and seeing like how that feels. You'll probably notice in your body like things shift and feel different. Um, and yeah, Amanda, I remembered what I wanted to say. Wait, piggybacking off of you had what you had of that, why is it hard to accept things? And I think sometimes it's hard to accept things if we don't like where it is, right? We often look to that next thing or I want that. And instead of, right, that embracing piece of and being able to embrace where we're at currently, we kind of automatically label it as, oh, this is bad or yuck, I don't like this. And therefore I need to change. I need to get out of this discomfort. And so we put energy into shifting out of that as opposed to, okay, how can I be here now? How can I step back? How can I look at this? What's happening? But yeah, we don't like to be
Gather
uncomfortable.
information,
Mm.
useful information about how to shift out of this rather than just get me out of here.
Yeah. And I do think it comes with a layer of like what Patrick, when you were talking, is like being able to just peel back some of the armor that we have on, that everything is fine and everything is good, and just put on a happy face every time we go somewhere. How's your day? Good. How are you doing? Good. We all just like everything's just automatically saying good. But when you actually acknowledge out loud, like, you know what? I'm feeling kind of down today. That's number one. Accepting that you are
Yeah,
feeling down and being honest and vulnerable to say that out loud to somebody else. Because what happens is like people realize like, oh, it's okay to be honest. It's okay
Mm.
to not be okay.
yeah,
And I think that's so powerful because we can't just cling to pleasant, good, winning, like feeling great and all like we're all going to flow through ups and downs in our lives. Like we're going to experience grief, we're going to experience loss, we're going to experience failure, we're going to experience celebration and wins, we're going to experience like things that we didn't think we were supposed to experience and that we should be feeling a different way about something. So it's taking that external message of what like your experience should be and allowing yourself to listen to what you're actually experiencing and know that it's going to be okay because everything is going to change. You're going to go up, you're going to go down, you're going to go up again, you're going to go down again. And when you learn to kind of flow with that and ride the wave, then you're not fighting against it. And you're embracing your natural cycles of just being a human.
that's right. Yeah, and what I thought of when you were talking about just owning your experience is, you know, the more we get practice with that, the more we also learn that's not an invitation or expectation for the other person to fix it.
Exactly.
It's just an acknowledgement of where the person is. If your empathic parts feel compelled to say, is there anything I can do for you? Fine. But again, there's an exchange happening. And this is another conversation I've noticed having a lot more of that question, why?
Mm.
Why are we not owning it? Why are we not um, reaching out? Why are we not saying, hey, do you need help? Or, hey, I'm a little off today. And the recurring theme of answer that keeps coming back is this, assumption that I'm already overwhelmed with my own stuff. And if there's an authentic exchange, there's the assumption that I now have to take on your thing. So I avoid this connection altogether. I don't ask you about what's going on. I don't offer my experience of what's going on. We just avoid each other. And then we flip through social media and look at all the happy stuff. That's some of it's real.
Mhm.
It doesn't draw awareness to the and the acceptance and the embracing of all of it.
I think it's just the avoidance of also just being uncomfortable for a minute and like holding space for people can be a little bit uncomfortable, right? We don't know the right thing to say or the right thing to do because it's not about right or wrong. It's really just showing up and if we can't do that for ourselves, how are we doing that for other people? And vice versa.
Yeah, and I think too, our inner critic or kind of automatic thoughts can be detrimental in there too. I know lots of times clients will be like, "Oh, well, I didn't share such and such with whoever because like they were going to get mad at me or they wouldn't understand or, they would just such and such." And so I think we already kind of assume what we're going to get back. And so we stop. Or clients often talk about like, "Oh, I don't want to share something because I know this person also has their own stuff, right? They're going through a lot. I don't want to add more." And so we just kind of, I think these points of we more and more kind of just withdraw into ourselves and miss those connection pieces that we could have, where even if, like to Patrick's point, those small moments of like, actually parenting is really hard. Like I don't always love my newborn. Like they're a, demon child sometimes. And even those little points of truth, right? We don't need to go into like, let me tell you everything that happened my last week, or kind of things with people, but even sharing those moments that it's interesting that you often get that connection back, right? What Patrick was saying that like, oh yeah, actually me too. Like, okay, well, can we shift that and just kind of share those truths?
Yeah.
Well, this word keeps coming up, connection. We talk about it month to month to month in all of our many of our practices, whether it's connection with ourselves or each other or the environment that we're in. Um, Seems like it's important if we're repeating it. And that's at the my belief that I subscribe to. It's at the foundation of all human experience is connection.
Mhm.
You don't believe me? Let's rewind back to 2020, 2021, March 2020. Everybody was like, I'm an introvert. Well, many people were like, I'm an introvert. I was made for this isolation. No, you weren't. And then fast forward about 12 months from that point, when the large majority of the world is just feeling bleh and can't quite put their finger on it. It's because the illusion of connection is not enough. We need connection. Not saying that, let's give everybody a bad virus. Not the point. The point is, it's more complicated than that. We can't just sacrifice connection out of fear. We have to find a way to embrace connection.
So I wonder, like, hearing your both of your thoughts kind of how to use connection either with self or others or whatnot to get to acceptance or embracing. Like, how do we use connection to embrace or accept? Let's link the three. Any thoughts?
Well, maybe a personal experience, but also just what I've witnessed is again that being honest part. And when a friend that you trust or someone that comes around that you feel safe exploring with and just saying like, you know what, I'm not feeling so great and I could really use a hug. Like just being able to say that I think can help people build a stronger connection. They can go sit and have coffee and talk about the shit that sucks and it just normalizes it makes it a part of like it's part of everybody's lives. We don't have to push it like shove it under the rug and keep it behind closed doors. And I think when you can almost like a little bit of camaraderie and like not that you're suffering together, but that you're sharing your experiences together, that builds just a much deeper trust in yourself and for other people. And I think when you have that level of like trust, you have that level of like that sharing that just kind of like, oh, I see I'm not alone in this, right? And I think that helps us have a little bit more wisdom to say, okay, I'm here now and I won't always be in this spot and I that it's okay that I'm here. I just have to reach out or, talk to this one friend that really holds space for me and that can already lift you out of the fog, just
Yeah.
having the conversation.
Yeah, because when you're being honest in that connection, right? And that sharing, you're already moving toward that embracing part because you're being honest with yourself. And right, it's not like, how was your day? Good. Or sometimes, like lady in line behind you at the grocery store, how you doing? Good, right? Like that might not be our spot. We want to share some of those things, but do we can we shift out of those automatic responses, with people that feel that we can connect with and care for us and we can, do those things.
Yeah. Just a little personal note, it's something that my dad passed in 2020 and he had 4 years of working through brain cancer and he got really comfortable with his nurses and he was just kind of a smart ass. Just like he just always had some kind of smart thing to say. So whenever people would start asking him how he was, especially the nurses, they're like, "Oh, good to see you. How you doing?" He's like, "Well, the sky is blue and I'm on this side of the dirt." And so like, he made he brought lightness into it because that's what helped him. But I think if we can think of different ways to respond than just saying good.
Mm.
And we had a therapist a while back in our practice that used to say good is not a feeling. So I've always come back to that and just think of anything else to say. Like, I'm
Yeah.
okay today, or you know what, it's been a rough day, but I'm here.
Mm.
Like just I don't know, just shifting your language even can help get you into a different
Yeah.
state.
I think
Mhm.
that's right. And not understanding that there's a line between embracing and avoiding,
Yeah.
right? It's not the same thing where if we're constantly in denial or avoiding something like um, we've all felt it when you're inviting vulnerability. And by the way, just that was something that you said, Amanda, that sparked. There's research on this. Brene Brown's career is is built upon her research of we often wait for trust in order to allow vulnerability because it feels more comfortable. That's not how it works.
Mhm.
Trust only comes from vulnerability.
Yeah.
And to get back to the point I was about to make is, when we open up that vulnerable space and someone else minimizes it with, oh, well, hey, you know what? At least you're not blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's not the same thing as embracing. Embracing is more of what you're saying. Like, yeah, my situation sucks. And I also acknowledge I'm alive and I want to be,
Hmm.
So we're tapping into, you know, we have to feel discomfort when it's here in order to get the information to move out of it. That's Michael Easter's first book of we've been programmed to hate, avoid, disdain, discomfort, but we don't know what to do with it when it inevitably happens. That's where our resilience is built. And so I think, you know, again, there's not avoidance, but embracing. Yeah, I am feeling kind of low. Well, we can meet that with, man, sorry to hear that, or gosh, been there.
Hmm.
And, hope your day gets better, or whatever it is. We don't need to squash something down because what that really is that's us feeling uncomfortable about someone else's situation. And we're trying to squish it so that we don't feel uncomfortable. And so that's embracing, gosh, you're uncomfortable and I don't have to fix it. So I'm going to
Mm.
embrace that with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, just a quick kind of side note. I work a lot with children and therefore work a lot with parents. And I think that point you just made, Patrick, is really impactful. Like, relationships in general, but that dynamic of, acknowledging children's feelings or anyone's feelings, right? It doesn't have to be parent-child, but that instead of especially as parents, we often go to like, my child's uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. Of course, hopefully, no one wants to see their child in pain in any way or hurting. So we automatically go to like, how do we fix it, right? Or kind of like, let's look on the bright side. Let's use this as a teaching moment. And we just miss that little but impactful point of connection of like, oh, I hear you're really nervous about that test. Like, I have faith that you'll do a great job, right? As opposed to like, it's not a big deal, or like, you don't need to worry, right? Maybe they don't really need to worry. Maybe, right? A grade's a grade, but they're really worried, and that's a really big feeling. So I think even that, just that one sentence, right, of acknowledging what you're hearing or that connection point, can make such a difference.
And not every moment has to be a teachable moment,
I hate that.
because now we're inserting ourselves into that moment. There may be plenty of lessons, but it may not be necessary for us to teach you that lesson, right? It's sometimes we just need to be present, and that's connecting the three. That's the connection. I
Mhm.
can join with you in this. And this is, if this is sounding familiar to people who have done like Kristen Neff or the Emory University or Stanford University compassion training, this is compassion.
Yeah.
It's understanding what I can offer, understanding what I need, and I'm not overextending myself to avoid my discomfort with your discomfort. Just owning it and being there with you. Now we've got connection while we gather information. We're normalizing, to your point, Megan, we're normalizing, doesn't always have to be great. This is going to be uncomfortable, and we're helping each other move through it so that this, in my opinion, quite toxic expectation of perfection that we've come across, which I don't think social media is totally responsible for, because social media only exists because of humans. So I think that's just something that we keep feeding and feeding and feeding. We didn't just get here in a vacuum. This has been a process.
Mhm.
And the way to do something about it is exactly what we're talking about. If I may be a little grandiose, suggest that we're talking about the resolution. But
This might be going off on a little bit of a side note, but observing social media and just kind of general conversations amongst communities is like the language is there's so much bad stuff happening in the world right now. There have always been bad things happening in the world ever since humans decided to think for themselves. There have always been bad things happening. We're just really hyper aware of it because of things like social media, constant notifications, constant news articles, constant conversations, constant visuals of violence, of bullying, of all of the things that are tragic in our existence. Um, that sometimes we can get so inundated by all of that bad stuff that we forget that good also exists. And there's a practice in yoga philosophy called pratyahara, which it translates to like withdrawal of the senses, which has evolved since yoga was, found like passed on thousands and thousands of years ago. But in today's world, it's kind of like you get to um, you get to manage your sensory intake. Like what you're bringing into your internal world is really important. So if you are constantly receiving notifications and constantly looking online and reading news about all the bad things, your internal environment is going to feel that. So one of the ways that we can kind of separate ourselves from that a little bit, create a little bit of space is just to develop our witness capacity. So being able to see that, yes, bad is happening. Yes, good is happening. I'm here. I'm breathing. And I can see this bad thing in my life, and I can also see this good thing in my life. It's the duality of existence, right? So I think that comes into play when we talk about, seasonal work. So yes, nature has seasons. It does it all the time. We can witness it. We can also witness it in ourselves. Like I was saying earlier, it could be your personal winter right now and you need more rest. And rather than thinking about all of the like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be and then that when we embrace that season for ourselves, we gain a little bit more wisdom and can approach our next aches and pains in life with a little bit more of that witness capacity to say, yes, I'm here and this will this will pass.
Yeah,
This
I
will
love
Yeah.
that wording around that. Yeah, the witness capacity, right? Because also acknowledging that two things, I mean, multiple things can coexist, but it's not just all the bad. And also, Amanda, what you're talking about, that anxiety loop that our brain gets into of I'm seeing all these bad things. There's so many bad things in the world. I need to keep myself safe. Therefore, I need to know. I need to consume more to know more so I can keep myself safe. I need to plan. I need to think. I need to worry. Um, and we're not doing ourselves any good, right? We just kind of keep, because our brain's like, yep, we need to figure it out, right? Here, look, that's why we're worried. Let's keep, we need to know every time a murder happens. Like, do you? So yeah, that, we to keep ourselves and our brain wants to keep in that loop with anxiety. But I think to that point, right, of like, okay, and I think so much of what we're doing on this path is, oh, okay, how do we slow down? How do we step back? How do we make intentional choices? How do we really connect with ourselves? Right? I'm just thinking more so the creative practices and the journaling practices that I guess I'm kind of feel more behind, but that's what that is, right? Of here's a way to slow down, connect with how you're feeling, what are you thinking, taking time to reflect, meeting yourself where you're at. I think everything throughout probably all these months are working toward that, probably in some way, right? Connection. To Patrick's point of we keep talking about it. And that, yeah, kind of continually to work toward that embracing and accepting for ourselves.
yeah, and just trying to like the practices also I think are, some of them are aimed at being able to sit in a little bit of discomfort and recognizing, what's hard and what's good, and that those two things can exist at the same time, and our human experience is worthy of experiencing it all.
Yeah.
It's we should not run away from either side.
And let's pull
Should.
the nervous system back into this, right? Because we often talk about it, and that's at the core of what's going on. By doing these practices, by experiencing the duality, we're helping our nervous system, our neuroception recognize that we are actually safe.
Yeah.
Because the brain is what's creating the story, the narrative around the cues. So if we can physically be here and be aware and open up this curiosity and compassion about what's happening around us and stay present, well, then it must not be life-threatening. And so now we start to get new information to rewrite that script, rewrite that narrative or story about cues, and our nervous system gets more attuned to picking up accurate cues from our environment. Like Megan said, if we're anxious, if we are like at our core anxious about anything that could possibly happen, well, guess what? Our nervous system is looking for something to happen. If you look hard enough, you will find it. It might be happening 6,000 miles from here. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have compassion for what's going on in the world. And I know none of us are saying that. Absolutely. What a place of privilege for us to be able to say, gosh, that really sucks, and not be in it. While also, how does me taking that on from my position help that person? I'm 6,000 miles away. It
Mhm.
doesn't help them. Instead, we own where we are. Okay, how can my position be helpful? And now we've got more factual curiosity and exploration rather than me taking on and consuming someone else's thing that doesn't actually affect me. And it's not, people don't love to talk about that, but I think we have to own that. You know what? That doesn't actually affect me. And I need to own that. I need to own my privilege that that doesn't affect me. Me taking it on for them is actually a little more offensive than me having compassion for that person going through something that I am not. So I know that's a much larger conversation to be continued, but I felt like that was important that we should acknowledge that there's another embracing and accepting of what's multiple things being true.
Yeah.
Our just humor. Our parents used to talk about their parents lecturing them at the dinner table. Well, they're starving children and wherever, and getting in trouble for saying, well, what does that have to do with me? I don't like boiled Brussels sprouts. Like, you know, right. Two things are true. And
Mhm.
one does not resolve the other, right? So, I mean, I think that's kind of the more jest-filled example of this. But any final thoughts before we get to the end here?
I think if, like we're looking at the whole theme of summer is like keep following your flow, whether you're up or down, and just, remember to um, see your glimmers and your moments of joy and hold them with, reverence. And also take care of your hearts.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. And I think all these practices this month really help to kind of allow people to tune into, okay, where am I? And I think that reminder of wherever you find yourself to work to embrace that, to accept that, to know that this is just where things are now and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess my final thought is we're entering the dog days of summer, and me being an advocate for outside, let's gather information. Let's accept that it's hot as shit outside and there are mosquitoes, and get information. What if I go out for a little while? I don't need to avoid it because of the story in here. And we can use that as a metaphor for so many other things, while
Mm.
also programming our nervous system to rewrite the script of just because something I think might be uncomfortable. Well, let me go get some real information.
Well, hold on, I'm going to sidetrack here. But what a great way to practice discomfort, right? Even if I go sit outside for 10 minutes, set a timer, you're going to be safe, right? And like to go out and okay, I spot mosquitoes, I'm realizing I'm uncomfortable, like, but I'm noticing the bird songs, kind of practicing that duality of what can this space hold and just looking at that with curiosity and kindness and okay, what is it? My 10 minutes are up. Okay, I can go back in my AC, get
Exactly.
some cool
Yeah, you
water.
learn what your limits really are, not what you
But
invent them to
practicing
be.
that, oh, I'm uncomfortable and I can tolerate through, right? I can yeah, notice these other things to where then okay, now how does that translate at work or in relationships or in other places too?
Yeah, excellent. Okay, thanks for listening. We hope you enjoy working through the practices this month. We got some good things in store for you, some interesting and useful things. Let's not say good or bad. So enjoy. See you next time.